Well, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dr. Movie, the show on wheels. I'm driving in the nighttime right now, so thought it was a perfect time to kind of spill out some more movie love here, right? So we've been doing giallo January, and don't worry, folks, I'm not going to do all just giallo because it would take several months to do that. So I'm going to mix it up a little bit. But I do want to get through some of these that are, I think, considered heavy hitters, ones that you should know about and get you into the genre. Last episode, we talked about Bird with the Crystal Plumage, the beginning of Dario Argento's stint of greatness. And this is the follow-up movie, Cat o' Nine Tails, from 1971. This movie, you can really see Argento kind of getting into his own groove. You start seeing some different ideas with the camera work. A little more edge to it, a little more graphic. And this one is also a point where Argento is becoming a superstar in Italy, right? I've heard it said that his popularity, not maybe in this point of his career, but he was like what we consider Spielberg to be here, right? He was that, highly looked at as a director in Italy. And he's starting to get a lot of attention even after his first movie. And he's starting to get American actors that are wanting to be in his films. And with this one, you've got Carl Malden, who, if you grew up in the 70s, you knew the streets of San Francisco, right? He's unmistakable. Nobody looks like Carl Malden. And so he's in this. You got James Franciscus in this. Not American, obviously. But he was a pretty big name at the time, too. And again, giallo. We're talking about the whole idea, the concept of murder mystery. Remember what I said, there's usually something that's triggered from childhood or something in their life that just all of a sudden hits a switch and makes these things start happening. And that's usually the not the incentive, but the thing that kind of drives them that direction to start living this lifestyle, right? And last episode, I almost passed it over completely when I was talking about it, but there's a big push for the technology of the time that was in Bird of the Crystal Plumage. Almost as an overview, I can't believe I even kind of missed it because it is so dominant in that film. Well, in this one, it's kind of the same thing. It's a push in technology about genetic research, right? Something that was just really starting to take off. And with this one, scientists have discovered, or doctors, that there is something in your genetic makeup, extra chromosomes or whatever, that they can detect that will determine if you're going to be a little off kilter. Let's just put it that way. You have the chances are that you're going to grow up and be a serial killer or a murderer, or so there's a genetic thing that they can find, and because of that, they think at birth they can monitor this and possibly even reverse it. That's kind of the whole concept of what's going on here. And you got James Franciscus, who is he's a newsman, works for the newspaper, right? So he goes around and gathers the information, puts it into the paper, and Carl Malden plays a guy who's blind, and he's raising his niece by himself. She lost her parents. He's taking care of her. He needs her as well because he's blind. Doesn't have anybody associated with him. But he also used to be worked for a newspaper as well, and lost his sight, and now he spends his time doing puzzle solver, and he's really good at it, right? So there's your setup of your unlikely team that's going to end up matching up. And what's happened is somebody's broken into the genetics hospital or lab and stole some records, and in the process somebody was murdered, right? And from this point on, the newspaper's reporting about the murderer, and James Franciscus starts digging even deeper into why this would have happened. Talks to the guy that owns the whole lab. He has this hot daughter, and you know where that's going, right? So they end up kind of becoming a thing, right? But in the process of this, more and more people are getting knocked off, and it turns out that one guy knew who stole the stuff and was going to report on it, but this person also saw it as an opportunity to better himself, right? So he thought that this would be something that he could probably latch on to, even though he wasn't behind it, either a blackmail type thing or what, right? To get money out of this situation, some hush money. And, well, he goes to meet somebody at the train station and gets pushed out in front of a train and just gets demolished because he just pushes him out in front of the train, and the train runs over him right in daylight. And a guy that works for the newspaper that's the photographer for James Franciscus' character actually got some shots of the accident when it happened. And they published that in the newspaper, which is really different, right? I don't know that we would show the actual accident in a newspaper, but during all this is where Carl Malden's character and James Franciscus' character kind of meet each other. They kind of become friends, and knowing that he's a big puzzle solver, James asked him, about, what's the insights on all this? Where are some things that we can look at? And he said, hey, was the picture that you put in the paper, was it cropped? And if so, we need to see the whole picture, because chances are the killer is in that picture. Well, they call the photographer. He goes, yeah, it was cropped. I'll make another copy of the original and send it to you. Well, come to find out, the killer shows up and kills the photographer, takes the picture, so everything's hidden again, right? So, pretty typical for this kind of stuff. What is really different about this movie is the brutality rate starts really changing in this one, right? Because in most cases, you're going to get stabbings. This person, the serial killer, likes to use a cord around people's necks. So you get a lot of slow strangulation. So you get that quite a bit. You get some mutilation going on. It's pretty standard as far as a giallo goes, but you're starting to see it get amped up a bit. So again, this is where I think you start seeing Argento stepping out a little bit. You're starting to see more camera angles that are unusual, which, if you know anything about Argento, that's really what makes him stand out, is his use of the camera. So you start getting a lot more of that development. And this movie moves kind of slow, but there's a scene that I think everybody kind of talks about, and that's the elevator shaft. You got somebody falling down the elevator shaft, and they're trying to grab the cables to keep themselves, because they're falling, several stories, and trying to grab the cables, and it burning their hands, but they're still trying to latch on. I mean, that's 100% what we expect out of Argento. And that scene alone is worth checking this movie out. But at the end of it, like with all of these, you're never right. you never can pinpoint who the killer is. So if you like that aspect of going around and trying to pinpoint who it is, then, you know, obviously this is one of those movies for you. That's kind of what I liked about these two, because they do a good job with the red herrings, setting you up, and all these things escalate. You get some awesome... There's an awesome car chase scene in this that will make you, you know, start doing the white knuckling thing, right? I mean, it's pretty good. And then you got a big rooftop scene, a big chase scene that's on rooftops. It's done really, really well. It's a good, solid flick. Still not my favorite. We're stepping into it, though. Again, you can tell that he's really ramping up his game. And to be honest, this is as good as 85% of all the giallos that are out there, right? And because stylistically, he's going to show you something different, right? So that's kind of where I place this one at. It's still not his A game, but it's very well done. It's a good, solid story. You got some good acting here. So again, on Tubi, you need to check it out. If you enjoyed the last two movies, then this one's just going to take it just a little bit further, and we're just edging into what becomes what we expect out of Argento when we start hitting the mid to late 70s. So give this one a chance. Cat o' Nine Tails. It's called that because when they start laying out how many suspects and how many events have happened, it adds up to 9. So they've got 9 avenues to find out what's going on here, and that's the approach that they take. So again, it's another brilliant film. I no doubt you have to check it out, right? So for me, I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. I like it. Still not my favorite. We're about to step into that territory, though. So if you will, take the journey with me. Check these out as we go along. And it's on Tubi, like I said. Need to check it out. And that's all I've got for this one. So if you've got some recommendations, if you know of some giallos that you like, that you want covered on here, bring them up, right? Because I'm game for trying to find ones I haven't seen. I've seen a bunch. And so this is just a neat little trip for me. But at the same time, we're going to mix it up, right? Probably next episode will be something a little different. Matter of fact, I've got a recommendation I'm supposed to do. So you may be seeing that one next. But if you have any recommendations, make sure you send them to me. Let me know. If you love these movies, put some comments, you know, where you see where you're going to listen to this at, and just let me know, because the more that I know that you're enjoying it, the more I'm going to enjoy it, right? I'm doing this because I just love these movies, and I think it's a lot of fun to check these out and have a good time with it. So, folks, that's it for this one. Take it easy, and we will check you later.